the yawn.
My little cocoon, you got the AC
seriously.
cranking.
Oh, I do have the AC. I'll turn it on
cranking.
after. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. So as you can see, we're back on the recliners. We're going to talk a little bit, or maybe more of an update.
Update slash just kind of keeping it real.
Yeah, we're going to keep it real with you guys and let you know how it was now owning the F450 and getting back on the road. I know if you've been following our videos on Instagram, we've been to the National Grand Design Rally in Indiana,
Niagara
Falls, heading there and stuff like that. So we've driven it enough from my perspective as the driver to give you information on what the difference is between pulling with our F250, now pulling with the F450, what I'm feeling, what I'm recognizing, what's gone, what is now developed, and then also from Renee's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not familiar with the reason why we got the F450, let's give you a quick rundown. We had the F250 a long time ago, 2019. We had front end issues with it, and everything was very loose, partly due to a poor alignment in North Carolina. Since back then, 2019, we had issues with it, and we went to an RV park, and I said, I'm going to go get an alignment like ASAP. This doesn't feel good. So from the time I dropped off the RV to supposed to be 10 miles up the road to the alignment place, I got the death wobble and almost crashed into a cement truck that almost threw me off the road. So first time ever having death wobble, freaked me out. Fast forward to
Summer of this year.
In
Cape Cod.
We were in Pennsylvania when it happened?
Oh, yeah, it happened in
it happened in Pennsylvania because the roads were so bad. So basically, kind of a quick overview is we got the death wobble while pulling the RV, and she was in the car for the first time, and we had semis on both sides of us and traveling at 68, 70 miles an hour with the death wobble pulling the RV. I'm very thankful. My intuition went straight to squeezing the brake, getting off the gas, squeezing the brake trailer to straighten me out. But the steering was literally going into the trucks, and we literally thought we were going to smash into trucks. So we're off the side of the road for a couple hours. We decided to drive the rest of the way to the Ford dealership.
Well, it was right up the street.
It was right up the street, next exit. They fixed it. They put a new steering stabilizer, everything like that. And I asked the mechanic, hey, how can we avoid this? And he's like, honestly, he goes, you either need a lighter rig or a heavier truck. And I know a lot of you right now are saying, that 250 could tow it. Yes, it could tow it, but it was over on the tongue weight, not the RV, or the RV weight was over for what the tongue weight could happen or what could be used on the F250. 315 that we have, the reflection is very tongue heavy, roughly in the neighborhood of 1,300 to 1,400 pounds on the tongue. Weight distribution bars max out at about 1,400 pounds, and when you start putting that kind of weight on the back of a truck, it will start to lightly lift the front up, and I'm not saying it lifts the whole front end up, but it relieves a lot of weight. In Pennsylvania, when you hit a lot of the bumps consistently, you'll get the death wobble, and it'll start just ruining your front of your suspension. I'll link to our video of how we decided to go from either choose a lighter RV or a bigger truck. And it was kind of like a 50-50 thing, and watch the video to figure out what happened. We now have the 450, and we have since pulled it from Cape Cod
all the way to Indiana,
to Wisconsin, Illinois.
Making our way to Ohio and then back to Florida.
Yep, so we're not in Florida yet. We are in Illinois. We'll be
we're in Indiana.
Indiana. Are we in Indiana?
Oh, we're right outside of Indianapolis.
Oh, that's right. Indianapolis. And then tomorrow we leave to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of an update.
It's kind of keeping it real. I mean...
Yeah, go ahead. Talk to them. Let them know.
Well, I mean, you're the driver, so you know more, but we just wanted to do a video just to kind of keep it real. We just wanted to kind of talk about Scott being the driver and then me as the passenger, kind of just what it was like to get back in the truck after experiencing the death wobble. And it didn't help. We got the new truck like maybe a week before we actually left to get back on the road. So we were still
had to get back on the road.
Yeah, and we were still getting used to the feel of a dually and a new truck, and now we put the RV behind it. Now we're back in the truck driving with the RV in a new truck, and just the whole experience of what it was like.
Yeah, and there was a lot of breaking in because we had the 250 with this RV for so long. If there was any little feel or any little noise or any little thing, I knew what it was, what to expect, or hey, that's kind of out, that noise shouldn't be made, or hey, we're running a little heavy in the RV, did we dump all the tanks, or hey, we're running perfectly smoothly, we're getting 13.5 miles to the gallon. We don't get 13.5 miles to the gallon with the dually, unfortunately. Like Renee said, with us getting the truck literally a week before we had to take... Oh, I got attacked by a bug. You see that? So literally getting the RV a week before we had to hit the road. And when I say we had to hit the road...
Because we were going to the Grand Design Rally.
We were going to the Grand Design Rally, so we were driving. Everything felt different. The way it drove, and we had the old tires on, and we've since had new tires, and that's a whole new feeling.
That could be a whole new video right there with
FedEx. Oh, yeah, with FedEx and the tire. Oh, FedEx. Needless to say... It got a little weird learning to drive again and trusting the truck to the fact that when I hit these expansion joints or when I hit humps or potholes in the ground, I'm not going to get the death wobble. You know, part of the truck still feels familiar. It's still a Ford. It has the same engine. It kind of still drives the same for the most part. I know it's a dually with the wide track, but there was still some familiarity to it. Another cup of coffee, that one. But it was just the feel and how things were going to react. And of course, when we started driving, man, I was 10-2, white knuckling, sitting forward, just kind of like, here it comes, here it comes, here, oh, it's not happening, it's not happening. And then, you know, there was a bunch of flashbacks of how things felt, and it didn't help going from Cape Cod to Indiana. God, there was some bad roads, and I was just
they're
like...
still bad.
Yeah, they're still bad up here.
Just driving where we drove this weekend, there was bumps in parts.
And when we mean bumps, it's like, oh, 1 or 2 bumps. No, it's... Foom, 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 foom. I mean, it's constant not frost heaves where they're humps, but it's just... Boom, 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 boom. And they're just constant, and that will kill suspension out here.
So, got a question. Is it just us, or since COVID started, have the roads gotten worse? Like, are they not working on the roads anymore? Because when we traveled before COVID, we don't remember the roads being this bad. So what are your thoughts? Have you noticed the roads being worse, or are we just kind of being babies and every bump we're taking now differently? It just seems, I don't remember it being this rough on the road. It's
a good question. I think it could be a combination of both. Us being super sensitive and being kind of prepared and like...
I just don't remember a couple years before traveling, before COVID, being... I remember, I mean, we've been to Wisconsin, we've been to Michigan, we've been to some of these same places, and it's like, I don't remember it being this rough on the road.
Yeah. So I guess there would have been a stoppage of work if they didn't start maintaining the roads for almost a whole year. So
and I understand there's winter and the rain and all that, but I just don't remember it being as rough of a ride.
Yeah. So leave a comment down below. See if you've noticed the same thing. I know there's been a lot of comments in the Grand Design forums, especially in Pennsylvania. Anywho, let's talk about what's good with the new truck.
But you're the driver, so you feel a lot more things than I feel.
Yeah, so what's good for me in the RV is just the stability. Holy cow. Driving with this RV with the dually, when I look out the rearview mirror, the dually wheel well is now perfectly in line with the side of the RV, whereas before I had about, maybe 6 to 8 inches of the truck wheels being tucked in from the RV. So I know that there's obviously a lot more stability it's just more planted. But that, on the other hand, is when I make a move, the RV's right there. I have noticed there's a little bit more, like, it stays with me. Whereas before, if I turn, the RV kind of follows, and I'm used to that.
It follows.
Yeah. But it just follows us. This is like one piece. It's hard to explain.
Do you think the wind gusts are better or the same?
Wind gusts are a lot easier to take.
You think now with the dually?
Yeah. Well, 2 reasons. We don't have the kayaks up top anymore. That was just a sail up top. Also, too, when I do get wind, it'll affect the RV more than it affects the truck, but I do notice that, again, since I'm planted more and I have a wider footprint with the truck, it definitely subsides the sway a lot easier. Something else that I just talked about the other day is I'm starting to feel when an 18-wheeler comes by me now. I'm getting the suck, whereas before we didn't get the suck in and push out when an 18-wheeler came by. And the crazy thing is we're longer than we were before with the 250.
But not by a lot.
Not by, well, by a few feet.
But we are longer, yeah.
So the only thing that I can think of is we don't have a truck cap anymore. So on the 250 we had a truck cap, so the airflow would go up, over, and literally go right up on top of the trailer. So if we had any wind, I never got the suck and pull from the F250, but now I feel it. And I think it's because we don't have a cap, and maybe wind's getting stuck, dirty air's getting stuck in between where we don't have the cap. I don't know. I'm not an aeronautical engineer nor aerodynamic engineer. I play one on TV. The other thing is commercial tires. If you've never driven a F450, they're smaller diameter, where the F250 had 20-inch wheels. This one has 19 and a half, and you're like, well, it's a half inch. Difference is the tires now are narrower, and even though they're still 275s as opposed to 285s or 32 or 35-inch tires on 20-inch rims, they're thicker. They're all 14-ply tires. On a 250 and a 350, they're 10-ply tires. So you get more of a supple ride, even though you have a bigger diameter wheel. Now we have a smaller diameter wheel with stiffer sidewalls, and they're squared off. They're like 90-degree square edges. And that makes for just turning. There's no roll. It's just stiff. When you turn, you turn. Also, too, the rubber's a lot harder compound, and depending on what tread you get, it definitely is different feeling in your steering. It's a weird floaty feeling because the rubber's...
It's funny you use the word floaty. When I drove it somewhere, I felt like I was floating too.
Yeah, when you turn and do... So I did the quick shake like this, and it feels like it just does this, like it snakes, it floats. It's very weird. But I've been told and read on the forums, it's the rubber compound on the tread of your tires, depending if you got aggressive tread or if you have just just over the road type tires. We got aggressive tread, so there's more knobs, and that's the reason why. I haven't been the passenger in this truck yet, so I'm going to leave that to the co-pilot, my navigator, my instructor.
As far as the truck itself, I don't really notice a whole lot of difference as a passenger in it. I mean... Not
even a smoother ride?
I was going to say, it is a little... Surprisingly, I think it's a little smoother than the 250s,
yeah.
Which you would think it'd be the opposite, but it is a little smoother. I think just the biggest thing was just getting back in the truck. That was the hardest part when we left, getting back in with the RV. Like, we drove the truck around the cave, so that wasn't like it. It was getting back in on the highway with our house attached. That was hard for me to get back in and
trust it. I guess trust.
Yeah.
I
mean, it was
tough. So Renee got really, really scared during the death wobble. She had never been in that type of situation, and it's the closest you can get to literally almost smashing into semis on the freeway than we've ever been.
And kind of I have a little anxiety on the highway anyway. So
pre-death wobble, she was still like...
So adding the death wobble in was really scary.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's been hard to get back on the road.
Yeah, it's hard to trust the process again. You know, we do everything we can to avoid everything, very defensive driving, very maintenance, tightening the lug nuts, everything like that. We know we've done our part to what we can do, and it's just putting faith in the other drivers that make sure they keep their line and they don't screw off, or how many people I'm constantly like, get off your phone. That's definitely, I'm always, scanning head on a swivel all the time. What do you think about driving it in general? Like when you go to the store or, you go shopping when you're driving it. How does it feel compared to the 250?
Fine. I mean, just a different turning radius.
It's almost too much turning radius. I've overshot parking lots. I've overshot corners. I've overturned corners where I needed to back up, and I've noticed when I turn corners it's too sharp the turn, so the turning radius is great, especially with the RV backing in. It's like learning to back in a whole new angle again.
Is it still running?
Let me get you a tissue.
So anyways, as I was trying to say earlier, but it's been hard to get back in the truck. I mean, we don't want to give up RVing. We want to keep traveling. So we just have to get in every day and just know it's going to be okay. And I mean, we've got a better truck for more of the RV that we need. And
we've over-trucked.
Yeah,
we've over-trucked on what we need.
A bigger truck than what we need for the RV.
Yep.
And I feel safer in it. It's bigger. Sometimes even like driving here, every time we hit a bumper, I still get a little somersault in my stomach. But I think as we get back on the road more and travel, that is going to go away. And I know this is a normal feeling because we have some friends that got in a car accident or they totaled the truck and their RV and lost everything. And I talked to her and she said the same thing when they got back in. It was nerve-wracking for them to be back in the RV, but they want to keep doing it. So
and even their dog was in the car accident as well, and the dog is freaking out about going back in now as well. It's kind of weird. I hate to use the term PTSD. Obviously we're RVing. We don't have super tragic terms of what PTSD has been floating around with the military, but we do have the flashbacks, and every time I go over those bumps, I'm so thankful the death wobble doesn't happen, and I'm just like, she hates it when I say, "Oh man, the 250, we would have lost it in the 250."
It would have been a scary ride if we hadn't gotten the 450 and we stuck with the 250 and made the drive we've made now that we've seen the condition of the roads, and we're still not even back in Florida yet, so there's still more roads we haven't even seen. So,
yeah, it's bad. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, I think we made the right choice getting the 450.
I do too, even though it was a little over budget of what we wanted to spend just because of the model. The only model that was on the lot within 4 hours of driving to go pick up and that we could physically see that was in almost near mint condition. So, but it's definitely well worth it. It'll hold its value. We just hit 66,000 miles or something on it. So
I know you know better than me.
Yeah, we got it at 62,000 miles. I think we're at 67, 68,000. Other than that, it always boils down to when something happens like that, what's the old saying? When you fall off the horse, you got to get back on. This is a little bit more because we're literally towing our house and everything we own. So if that happens, we literally may lose everything or have a chance to lose everything, especially a life. So
and it's just scary that as much as we prevent and do maintenance, there's just no preventing it. You just don't know if it's going to happen, and that's the scary part. If you hit a bump, you just don't know, is it going to happen again? And
you can only control what you're able to control, and that's our maintenance and that's our safety. And then, like I said before, you're going on the defense. When you go on the road, you're on defense. But yeah, guys, that's it. We just wanted to keep it real with you. It's something that we talk about a lot, and we didn't know if we wanted to share it with you guys and the seriousness. But like Renee said, we try to keep it real. We're not the fluff. We have the real stuff coming to you. We're not going to fluff it for you. We're not going to BS you. And we're going to give you the reality of what a lot of RVers go through, and this is one.
And we don't want to scare anybody that's new. I mean, this isn't something that happens with everybody, every truck. Don't think that. It's just, it happened to us. We've heard about the death wobble, and it's just really, I don't know, for some reason, it's really shook me, at least, on this trip, this happening, and just having to get back in and get back to doing it. So
for me, I couldn't freak out. I had to be strong for her and not freak out and just go, "Oh, I'm going to die." But it was just one of those things. Guys and girls, if you are driving, you have to know your plan if shit hits the fan. You have to know what to do in a death wobble situation. Getting cut off, getting swerved off the road. I don't know how many times I'm driving and I'm in the slow lane and I'm like, if something happens to me, if I blow a tire on the passenger side, do I have enough room to pull off? If I blow a tire on the driver's side, I'm immediately going to go left. Who's on my left? I need to steer right. So it's an issue that I have constantly playing scenarios in my head of everything we do.
This is why we don't drive long. We have people that drive, 8, 12 hours. We do 3 or 4 or 5 the most because he's always thinking.
I'm always analyzing every situation, every car. What if this happened? What if this happened? I'm always planning that escape route, especially while driving, because I need to know, is there a safe place for me to pull off, to change a tire, at least to get to safety, and then can I drive forward to get to an area where I can change the tire or whatever happens, leaf spring blows or whatever. I constantly have that playing in my head, and you need to know you're not going to slam the brakes when the death wobble comes, if you get the death wobble.
That would have been me.
And I'll be honest with you, the brakes don't work in the death wobble because your brakes are doing this and they're not going to clamp. So you have to smash the brake controller on the RV to slow you down from behind. And it really helps the death wobble. When you do that and you start clipping that brake controller, it'll really slow you down. Then you could slowly just feather and tap your brakes on the truck and you'll line back up, and then everybody will see it. And then you just throw your hazards on and you just slowly start making your way to the side, to the shoulder. We are going to do the dual steering stabilizers just to add a little bit of relief to the front end components, front end suspension components, and just a little bit less play in the steering wheel. And something else, I know it's towards the end of the video. If you've stayed and watched this, thank you so much. We appreciate you watching it. Did you like the interviews that I did? Did you like the style of interviews? Interviewing full-timers, interviewing other people in the RV industry. Did you like that? If you like the interview style videos and you would like to see those every once in a while, leave a comment down below. And if we run into full-timers, whether, don't matter the age, don't matter the RV or anything like that, if you would like to hear from other full-timers, so if you want to see more of that, leave a comment down below if you want to see more interviews, because I definitely like doing it, because I feel like I learn something from it every time, or something happens to them differently that's never happened to us. Or
they learn from us. Like, they didn't know you could run your propane and your electric for the water.
Oh, that's
if,
right.
If you have that option to run both and it gets hot, you have a hotter, longer shower. They had no idea they could do that.
So that was cool, something we taught them. But in general, so thanks again for watching, guys. We really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button down below. And I have found out 80% of the people watching this video are not subscribed. So if you would do us that favor, hit that subscribe button, at least hit the like button, but that subscribe button really helps. And of course the bell notification lets you know when we put out a new video. Guys, thanks again for watching. Thanks again for hanging out with us while we keep it real and let you know what's really going on. And we'll see you next week. We'll see you later.